This video is sponsored by Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. Hi, my name is Jono, and if you're new here, I do pencil drawings. I've been drawing for 15 years. I do drawings like these. I'm busy teaching members of my team how to draw. This is part 2. In the first video, they learned how to photograph their work. They learned about lighting and also how to draw the grid method and get proportions in their drawings. So if you missed that one, you can check the previous video to catch up. And in this video, they're going to jump into the actual drawing, which is the fun part, and for Simon, the terrifying part as well. Teaching both Margot and Simon at the same time has highlighted just how different each person is and their particular needs when overcoming barriers. Simon's were a bit more psychological, while Margot's were a bit more practical. Both areas are extremely important, especially when trying something new or just striving for constant improvement. We're going to come into barriers in both the practical and psychological fields a lot. Simon, for example, was struggling with just knowing where to start. And this is something I talk about fairly often. The advice I got when I was actually just 10 years old still serves me really well today, and that is to just start with the part that interests you the most. Simon, being the cerebral bro that he is, got immediately into his head about it all and wanted to try and save the artwork from himself and rather start with the part that he felt was a bit safer.
I think I'm going to start with his neck, because I think that...
Is that the most interesting part for you?
It seems like a good place to start because it's not in focus, so there's a little bit, I feel like there's a little bit more freedom of, I can like brush over it, and then it's also very distinct, the hairs and the direction.
What I'm hearing from you is apprehension and fear. Assume that it's going to be difficult no matter where you are. Okay. And no part is too precious for you to not want to touch, because then you're already like starting from a position of failure. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, and that you're not good enough to do this part. Mm-hmm. So why not just ignore that? Just do the part that interests you, that's you're going to learn the quickest. Whether you're doing this or this, like, this is going to be somewhat uninteresting, you're going to feel like a failure. This is going to be way more interesting, you're going to feel like a failure. Whereas if you do that and you feel like a failure, you're going to be like, oh, okay, but I learned a lot, maybe I'll be better at this part, and then you could try this part.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best environment for you to make mistakes. It's all on camera, it's perfect.
There's no one here to see.
Yeah. Okay, how many followers are there? Just 500,000 people.
500,000 people.
I think that learning to trust in myself and the process simultaneously was a big obstacle for me. But once I started allowing myself the room to learn without expecting perfection immediately, I was able to make actual progress.
Margot jumped right in, and with a little bit of guidance on doing the outlines first, she pushed that to the furthest that she could go and got stuck at her first barrier, which was when to start adding shading and adding volume to the shapes that she's just outlined. It can be really tough to know when to take those next steps forwards. We often cling on to these little successes, these moments that we know what we're doing and we aren't causing any damage. And that's where Margot first stumbled, which was the choice on whether to use a technique where she would either leave the highlights out or would she apply the graphite gently and go in to erase it later. Here's the lesson with Margot when she got stuck.
Should I go in with the darker values first and then erase out? Or should I be trying to leave as much of the white, like the highlights as possible and not going in with graphite there? I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I don't know, but I should just like, especially, I mean, like here, it goes from dark, and that's a complete highlight there, and then it's dark, and highlight, and so I just didn't know how to tackle it.
Yeah. So in that particular case, you would not erase that back out. But it depends on how you're achieving your background. There's so many variables with this as well. It's really difficult to give one answer. And that's kind of that's why this stays such an enjoyable task for like your whole life, is because there's so many different ways to approach problem solving a texture. And I think it's important to view it as a puzzle that you're problem solving. So what you've already done is using the blending stump, which is one method of smoothing out pencil strokes and manipulating graphite. there's pros and cons to it. So blending stumps are very precise compared to a brush. The downside is that they push the graphite into the paper, so you can't erase it as easily as you would be able to if you used a brush. So you've already committed, in a sense, to a method, and that's fine.
I felt that laying down the dark graphite and then erasing out felt like I achieved cleaner highlights. But what also happened was that I lost sight of my outlines and my grid, so I struggled to follow my reference and ended up using more of my imagination for the shapes. When I tried to leave the highlights open and put down the dark graphite around the highlights, I really struggled to keep clean lines, and in the end I preferred laying down the graphite and erasing out, even if it meant that the marks that I left on my paper were not exactly the same as the reference.
Margot's feeling of not knowing which path to take is such an understandable one, and it's completely normal. It's a fundamental part of the drawing process. If we take a guess and it's successful, then that's great. But if the guess is a failure, part of the technique is to be able to correct those failures and learn from them. Often drawing is just that. It's taking a guess at how to achieve certain textures, and the better we get at drawing, those guesses become slightly more educated each time. Of course, we want to try and minimize the damage done when we take some guesses and they don't pan out. And that's a fundamental part of the technique that I use, being able to kind of dial back or minimize that damage. But sometimes there are just sacrifices that need to be made in order to just choose a path and to move forwards on it. And after so many years of drawing, I still get really anxious when I reach those forks in the road. Back with Simon, we are still fighting the psychological fight. We were discussing how much detail to go into, and when Simon was talking about drawing every single little hair, his reaction to the answer was really amusing for me.
And with regards to the beard, I can't imagine you think like that I should just do each individual hair.
No, you must.
So I mustn't lay down the like base tone and then do the beard on top.
You can do it that way, but you do want to pay attention to the direction that each hair is going.
Sure.
Otherwise, that whole beard is just... your whole beard is just going to look like that's what a lot of people do, is they don't realize like...
Down, down.
Then it's just... It's like flat. It's completely flat. Because the hairs inform so much.
Yeah.
They inform so much of the shape of the face. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be like, okay, there are 4 hairs there. Although, like, I've been there, and I think most people who are pursuing hyperrealism have been there.
Something I learned during this project that really helped me was the importance of shadows. All my line work would feel like really off until I started filling in the shadows, giving the image that sense of depth that it needed to start resembling a 3-dimensional object.
Sure, it's been a long week of drawing and teaching, and I'm really proud of both Simon and Margot for overcoming some really serious barriers. These are not small things, and they also just never go away. These are things that I constantly have to deal with. The psychological and just practical, how am I going to problem solve and go about getting these textures, or what is my next step, and is that going to be disruptive for the drawing moving forward. So it's been really special to see that these problems arise extremely early on in a drawing practice, and to see Simon and Margot both overcoming them. Another tip that I had for Simon was to just turn his reference around and turn his artwork around. This has a way of getting your analytical mind to take a back seat. You really don't want to be thinking too hard about what you're drawing. Essentially, we have an idea of what eyes should look like, for example, and if our minds are saying, you're drawing an eye now, you most likely will listen to your analytical mind and draw an eye the way that your imagination thinks an eye should look, rather than what you're actually seeing in front of you. And this can really be a hang-up for a lot of people, and I think it helped Simon out to be able to just abstract his drawing, turn it upside down, and get this more accurate representation using abstract shapes to draw what he was actually seeing. So hopefully that helps him out in the next stage of the drawing as well. But before we end this video, let me give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in sponsoring these videos and helping me maintain this channel, but more importantly, they played a huge role early on in my career. I was looking for a way to showcase my work and make it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I didn't have time to learn HTML and try and build a beautiful, reliable website. And I found that Squarespace did all of that effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them and set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. That's all for this video. I'm really excited about this process and excited about sharing this with all of you in the hopes that seeing Simon and Margot slowly overcome a lot of their barriers might help any of you that are in a similar phase or dealing with the same problems to overcome those and get to the next stage of your drawing process. So next week's video, we're going to deal with more of the volume and details and the next stage of barriers and problems, which I'm also really excited about. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions for myself or Simon and Margot around this whole process. I'm excited to either answer those in the comment section or in the next video itself. As always, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.